Republicans appear going into the summer in the worst spot they've been in since Goldwater lost in 1964. In case you forgot, Goldwater lost by the biggest margin in history to that point. Reasonable people, of course, can agree. It's been a tough 30 months for Republicans. Let's just review quickly everything that has happened since Trump's loss in 2020, an election that was very winnable. January 6th happened. There was the post-election impeachment of Trump. Then there was the January 6th committee, the 2022 midterms, where Republicans did worse than just about any out-of-power party in modern history. It then took them 14 ballots to elect a horribly ineffective Speaker of the House. The Republicans' best chance for a non-Trump candidate just got embarrassed by Disney. We're, of course, talking about Ron DeSantis. Their leading candidate for the nomination just got arrested for payoffs to a porn star and Playboy playmate. And as we said earlier, they lost an easily winnable Supreme Court election in Wisconsin. Conservative firebrand Ann Coulter just tweeted, and we're quoting now, "The demand for anti-abortion legislation just cost Republicans another crucial race. Pro-lifers, we won. Abortion is not a constitutional right anymore. Please stop pushing strict limits on abortion, or there will be no Republicans left." Erick Erickson remains a Republican. Host of the Erick Erickson Show, heard nationwide on radio, writer of the best conservative newsletter in politics. You too should subscribe, and a good friend who is with us now. I have a very conservative friend who explains all of this by saying Republicans are stupid. Is it that simple?
I would use probably insanity, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, which is what happened in Wisconsin and keeps happening. They keep nominating people who say the 2020 election was stolen, choose to relitigate 2020, and then the voters say, this guy's nuts, let's not vote for him, and they lose very winnable seats.
Is Democrats figuring out how to take advantage of this? And by that, how selectively they are going after Republicans. They're allowing Trump to be Trump, which is normally enough. We'll see. But last night, he did not exactly stay on script. But then you've got a situation, for example, Ron DeSantis, up-and-comer. What happens? The NAACP in Florida issues a travel warning for Florida, which, of course, all of the media will cover, which feeds into the national narrative that Ron DeSantis is horribly racist and terrible. The NAACP State Florida Conference voted unanimously in favor of asking the NAACP Board of Directors to issue a travel advisory for the state of Florida. If issued, the advisory would urge the black community to avoid visiting or moving to the state of Florida, as if Florida was Syria.
Right. Listen, Republicans used to be, and I think DeSantis is in this camp, smart enough to know the deck tends to be stacked against them when it comes to dealing with the mainstream media. You do, whether you want to or not, whether you think it's fair or not, have to campaign in a different way. A lot of the most recently nominated Republicans who lost decided, by God, this is unfair. I'm not going to run any differently to avoid this. And they ran headlong into these problems. DeSantis, when they do this, suddenly you're going to watch DeSantis rally around all the non-white people he's supported in Florida and have put into elective office and appointed office. You're going to see him combat this narrative from the media. Undoubtedly, it's what Republicans always did up until about 6 years ago.
Well, that all well and good, and that was what Jeb Bush tried to do, right? That was going to be, he was going to, be the inclusive party after the 2012 Mitt Romney autopsy that said they've got to reach out to Hispanics and everything else. Donald Trump took exactly the other tact, and at least I remind you, he won.
Well, yes, and this is part of the problem. I think Republicans misinterpreted Donald Trump's win. He won against Hillary Clinton, who didn't campaign in Wisconsin for the last 100 days of the election, nor in Erie County, Pennsylvania, nor outside of Detroit, and she lost all of those states and blamed the Russians. The Trump team misinterpreted that as, hey, if you're just a really big jerk, double down on the offensive statements, people want to fight her, we can win. Against Hillary Clinton running a bad campaign, yes. In 2018, it didn't work. 2020, it didn't work. 2022, it really didn't work. So in 2024, you want to put up Trump doing that again, the odds are it's not going to work.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.